I'm speaking with Ping Lim, Vice Chairwoman of Global Family Wealth at LGT Asia Pacific. There's a certain journey in asset management, Ping, from equities through to bonds, including philanthropy, including impact investing, and alternative and private assets. Where are we today in that asset management journey with family offices here in Singapore?
I think one aspect of their journey, which I can comment on, has got very much to do with where families are today in their wealth journey. They are now mostly multi-generational, so you would have 1-2 generations investing together. They might be investing monies earned by the founder generation. And especially for single family offices, in their first stage of formation, where they're trying to find their place, for family members to feel as if they are contributing, there is a recognition that the wealth that they are managing is wealth earned by an earlier generation. I think that what I have seen with this profile of our client families in terms of their investment behavior is that it is this new world of disruption in the environment, which is making families check themselves and say, if we continue to invest the way that our elders have investing, are we missing out on opportunities? This therefore is leading them into the area of impact investments, private market opportunities, and in this area I feel that frankly, for a lot of families, they are lucky to have 2 generations, one with the crystallized intelligence, the other with the fluid intelligence to together look at new opportunities arising out of private markets. Because private markets, by their very nature, can take different forms of risk. And so to have 2 generations be able to work together and assess risk together, I feel also is extremely powerful in creating that connection between family members. And I like that a lot. So I've seen that behavior and that journey take them into the area of alternatives, definitely, but more importantly, in the area of impact investments, still in the private markets area, but really looking at whether or not this capital that they are deploying is concessional capital or non-concessional capital. I hope that answers your question.
Because families, as you described, many of them are in transition, transferring assets and responsibilities from one generation to the next, particularly here in Asia. Do they feel more comfortable working with a family-owned bank that has experienced that same transition?
I think definitely we have seen that with LGT, which is owned by the princely family of Liechtenstein, who are now in their 26th generation, an entrepreneurial family with a long track record. LGT itself is more than 100 years old, and some of the family businesses of the princely family of Liechtenstein are today still operating. Definitely, I do feel that especially with Asian families who are looking for good examples of how other families have done this, they resonate very well with us when we talk about long-term view, just taking that time to understand something before you make a decision. So we see that connection that we make with our client families. And I feel that in our conversations with our client families, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for good co-partners to accompany them on this journey as it takes them into this new environment of net zero carbon emission and everything else that's happening now in our environment.
You mentioned innovative ideas, Ping, but a lot of the coverage of Asian family businesses has been quite negative, has focused on disputes. When you bring a family together, are you avoiding disputes or are you concentrating on something a bit more positive, how to build relationships?
I feel that it's inescapable to the client reading the daily newspapers that disputes are happening, and they're happening always when an earlier generation has passed. And I feel that these headlines are good reminders to all clients that you need to prepare early. Where I feel we could help the client along is not just to emphasize on the disasters that can happen if you do not plan ahead of time, but to give also encouraging examples of when you do plan ahead of time, what you could accomplish. And that is to harness the potential that is within the family, not just stay still and avoid a problem, but really hark back to the core of most Asian families who, to today, is thinking, my job here, my responsibility is to just get the family a step higher than I was yesterday. And I think that if you position the message in this way, to say to a founder that it is good that we should try to prepare earlier, and you position it from the potential of the family talent and family capital and opportunities that can arise from there, if you position that positively, I feel that that would be much more encouraging than to just come with a huge stick and say, that is the disaster that will befall you if you do not do something.
So are you saying, Ping, that despite a family being dispersed, as many Asian families are now, with one generation being educated in maybe Australia, America or UK, an operating business potentially in another developing market across the sea in Indonesia and Malaysia, and parents maybe here in Singapore or Hong Kong, despite that broad range of locations and experiences, that a family can still have a common purpose for their wealth?
Well, firstly, I think every family is different, but the way that you have described the footprint of the families today, that is the reality. You do well as a founding generation, and of course, now that you have wealth, you want your children to be better than you, so you send them overseas. And as a result, of course, they end up making life somewhere else. So the time that you spend together as a family is lessened. The unity that you find in a family, a lot of Asian families try to achieve that through unity of purpose. Let's be in business together. So we have unity together because we are working for a business. But you can achieve unity through values. So you may just gather just to get to know each other, just to understand where you are at, just to create a network from your dispersed family. I think that that would be a wonderful way to encourage people to gather more often. And then once they're encouraged to gather more often, perhaps then you can tackle harder topics. You can then say, well, do we in fact have common values? What do you think our family value is? Do we understand our history, why we do things as a family in this way? And that's the history that needs to come out. So I take a very practical approach when advising families. I would like for them to feel as if every step that they are taking, that they are somehow moving forwards. And that means that even in a dispersed type of family with global footprints everywhere, we have to be practical and say, if we called a family assembly, will they come? So the challenge really is to start, but start soon, because the further away they are, the longer they will stay away. And then maybe then the chances of gathering them again may not be so good.
Ping Lim, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking with me.